Hello everyone, Vedant this side, and today we are going to look into Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which is also known as SOX. Okay, so before we start, let me ask you a few questions. Right? Have you invested in stock market or mutual funds, or you at least know about stock market, right? See, when you invest in stock market, you are excited that you will get a lot of returns, you will earn money, but it also comes with a fear of losing the money, right? There are multiple reasons why people lose money, and one of them is that the stock market collapses, right? And it collapses maybe whatever the market condition is, but sometimes it collapses because there are frauds, right? Because of reporting fraud, stock market scandals. You may have heard a lot about it, right? So now we will dig down into the same. Okay. Now let's see what are the contents. So these are the six points which I have noted down for socks. And if you know all this, you will be able to at least have a good conversation on socks with anyone. You can explain them what is socks, when did it came, and why is it important, what if we fail to be compliant, benefits, impacts, and everything. Right. So this will give you a very brief, like a good introductory benefit, and like this will give you a good explanation. Okay, now let's start. What is SOX? SOX is Sarbanes-Oxley Act. It is a federal law. Please note, this is a law. Okay, this is not a standard like PCI DSS, and this is not a framework like NIST or ITIL. This is a law, right? So most of the people they get confused in standards, frameworks, and laws, but this is a law. This is a regulatory requirement for companies. Okay. SOX was passed in 2002. It is the result of notable financial scandals in early 2000. Okay. So like let's look more into it. Now, if you know that in 2000s there were multiple stock market scams and financial scandal, market manipulation was going on in the US in the early 2000s. Companies like WorldCom and Iran, these companies, they went bankrupt because of these financial losses, and people went bankrupt because they invested in those companies, because these companies didn't report their financials correctly, because there were frauds, the reports were manipulated. That's why people lost their money, like billions of dollars, like we are talking in billions over here. So this was a very big issue, and to solve this issue, the US government introduced SOX, and also to to control the market manipulation, to build up investors trust and the confidence of the consumer, this law was applied. Okay, now who monitors this law? Okay, we have a law, but who monitors it? So it is monitored by US Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. And see, it impacts both financial and IT departments of the corporation. It doesn't matter that if we are talking about stock market, it is only about financials. No, it also impacts the IT department. Okay. Also, if you are confused about SEC, let me give you an example that just like in India stock market is managed or monitored by SEBI, SEBI, right? This is the same. So just the same, right? Just the same that in the US, Securities and Exchange Commissions monitors their stock market. Okay. Also, to protect investor, the act lays out rules, regulation, financials, reporting, mandating internal control audit, and strengthening corporate governance. Also applicable. So like no, now let's see to all, like to who the SOX is applicable. The SOX is applicable to all the US publicly listed companies, also the foreign companies or the subsidiaries who do business in the US. Okay, just like GDPR, right? You all might know about GDPR, how it works and all. If you if you don't know it, we will learn it in other lectures, but this is about SOX. Okay. So the SOX is applicable to all the US companies like, Apple, Google, JP Morgan, Netflix, or, also there are many. Also foreign companies who work in the US market, right? Whose customers are the US people. They have to be also compliant with SOX. Most of the time, they prefer it to be compliant, right? SOX is the critical part of today's GRC landscape. Yes, it is. Now, which are all the sectors that utilize the SOX audit report? So let's look into this also. Publicly traded companies, fully owned subsidiaries of publicly traded companies, non-US based public traded companies also. They do also utilize these reports. Also, private companies preparing to go public, the IPOs. So even if you are an IPO, you haven't gone public yet, but if you are planning to, you should still be you should still SOX compliant. You should be SOX compliant. Okay. And so now let's see. We know there is law, who is monitoring it, and why it should be followed. But what if we fail to do it? Right? What if we are non-compliant with the SOX? What will happen? So, if an organization fails to comply with the mandate as laid out by SOX, they face fines and imprisonment. This is obvious, right? If we fail a law, if we are failed to comply with a law, we we face fines. We are in prison. But who will go in prison in this case, right? Will they put the all the employees in prison? No, only the higher management. Okay. Always remember that the higher management is any day responsible for all the compliance. They are the ultimately responsible for for compliance and for non-compliance, all of the things. So if a company fails with the SOX, like they are non-compliant, and if it is a big issue, then the CEO, CFO, they may go in prison. Okay. Also, obviously, it will have a reputational damage on the company, because see, like if you want to invest in ABC company, and you have noticed that this ABC company has a lot of financial and accounting problem in the company, you will not surely invest in it. Like you will avoid it. Correct. So this is obvious, and due to all these issues, it may result in the collapse of the enterprise also. So that's why it is very important to be comply with SOX. Also, the US government is very strict about the compliance, and it is an organization's best interest to adhere to the compliance rules. The US government is very strict about the SOX and its compliance, and they cannot compromise anything. Okay. Now let's look into what are the benefits of SOX. SOX places the responsibility on management, accountants, and auditors to accurately report their financial, risking financial penalties and potential imprisonment for failure in compliance. So the benefit is that the responsibility is placed on the management, accountants, and auditors. The US government will not directly audit the company, right? Responsibility is placed on the management, accountants, and auditors. But if they fail to to report it, or like they fail to accurately report it, then these people may face imprisonment. Like they may go to jail, right? Although SOX doesn't spell out how to maintain records, it details the controls required for accurate financial reporting. And especially this, gives GRC professional an important role in the process. And here is where we come in. Okay. We GRC professionals, we help our management to build a good SOX process, so that we don't face any penalties or any fines or so in the future. Okay. Now there are more benefits. Okay. Section 404 of SOX requires management to establish and maintain an adequate internal control structure and procedure for the financial reporting. In order to be compliant with SOX, you have to have a good internal control structure and a process for financial reporting. Okay. So if so I will give you an extra information. Internal control structure, if this is related to IT, then it is called as ITGC or ITAC. Okay. Now there we have more. We have three more. A mandatory annual independent audit is required. Okay. So if you have to be compliant with SOX, you have to get an annual audit done. You have to get the SOX audit. It is called ITGC. ITGC is for actually IT department only. There are two other components for financial reporting also, but this is the overall picture that you have to get an annual audit done. And who will do this audit? The company will not, the external auditor will. Okay. So company has to hire an external independent auditor. They will audit the whole firm for SOX, and then they will give an audit report, and then that has to be submitted to the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. Okay. This is done to make sure that there is no, like, there are no unauthorized changes in the report, or if a company does its own audit, then it may hide some of the non-compliance or some of the issues, right? So that's why it is required for an independent auditor to do the SOX audit. Okay. Also, as part of this audit process, companies must document their internal control for financial reporting, ICFR, as proof of their compliance with SOX objectives, including details of business process, internal controls, and risk. So the SOX document, the report, should include the business processes, internal controls, along with the risks. Okay. In addition to oversight of financial reporting, SOX requires firm to have strong data governance and security policy for financial reporting, financial data. So we learned a lot about financial reporting. SOX is important for financial reporting, but it is also like SOX requires firms to have strong data governance. Okay, you should also have a strong data governance, and you should also have strong policies for financial data. This is also required. Now, what are the impact of SOX, right? We built a law, we applied it, we are monitoring it, people are, following it, but has it impacted? Like, what are the impacts? Are they good? So yes, they are. In the last 2 decades since SOX was passed, companies have built a good financial management process and capabilities. Also, they have vastly improved their corporate governance practices. Okay. So due to SOX, see, this is the first impact. Second impact is, or the second assurance is that the investors, they are stress free. The investors don't have to worry about companies, about the stock market scams, frauds, and all the stuff. They don't have to worry about it because SOX is taking care of it. Like they ensure that there should not be any accounting scandal or accounting issues in the companies. Also, SOX has motivated companies to employ stronger controls, better documentation, great standardization, protecting both themselves and their investors. Yeah. So this is all for today. If you have any more questions, then please reach out to me. Also, we will study each and every control for SOX in depth. So don't worry about it. Okay. So thanks for watching. Bye bye.